let's talk about Just Stop Oil, because they have said they're going to halt their protests, at least for the moment. They've caused absolute havoc up and down the country with their, I think, pretty crazy, lunatic ideas on what they're doing. Anna is with us. She is a Just Stop Oil spokesperson. Anna, thank you for joining us this morning. How are you?
Hi, Peter. Thanks for having me. I'm doing well, thank you. And I just want to begin by saying that I completely feel for everyone who's been disrupted because of our actions. I am every bit as frustrated and angry as they are that we've had to be doing this.
Why do it then?
Well, because the government is forcing forward over 100 new fossil fuel licenses, which is entirely unsustainable, particularly right now in the cost of living crisis.
Okay, let's say, Anna, sorry to interrupt you. You won't tell us your surname, but maybe you could break that down a little bit for us, because there are lots of things I disagree with that the government does, and I know I've got a big platform here on Talk Radio to talk about that, but you can write to your MP, you can stand outside Parliament, you can protest, gluing yourself to things, stopping the M25, stopping ambulances getting to hospitals. How can you look at yourself in the mirror?
Well, Peter, I have personally tried writing to my MP. I've tried going on marches, signing petitions. I've dedicated years of my life to doing that, and it changed absolutely nothing. It had no effect. But now that we're taking acts of direct action, we're taking acts of civil resistance, which historically is successful and does work, more people than ever are talking about the climate crisis.
Anna, your leader is a man called Roger Hallam, and he is someone who said this recently. I just have to apologise in advance. It's quite a graphic thing that he's about to say, but this is what the head of Just Stop Oil says will happen when the climate crisis gets underway.
So what will happen is episodes where a gang of young men come into your house, they take your girlfriend, they take your mother, they put her onto the table and they gang rape her in front of you. And then after that, they take a hot stick and they poke out your eyes and they blind you.
Obviously, apologies to anyone who's distressed by that or someone who that has happened to. I mean, why on earth, Anna, does the leader of Just Stop Oil have to talk in these ridiculous terms about what he thinks will happen when climate change is a reality for people, when temperatures are going up, and when we get to a stage that he says there'll be public chaos and disgusting and horrific things happening? Why does he feel he has to use that language?
Well, the fact of the matter, Peter, is that this year we had the worst drought in 500 years.
Sorry, hold on. What's that got to do with what he's talking about?
Peter, if you'd let me finish, I can explain myself. It destroyed a third of our wheat crop. It's going to destroy half of our potato crop. Next year, we are going to face massive food shortages. Within the next 20 years, we're going to be faced with 1 billion climate refugees, millions of deaths because of the climate crisis. Climate breakdown will cause a societal breakdown, which will cause massive violence.
And what does that justify what he's just said? That clip I've just played you.
Well,
you think that's going to happen? You agree with him, that horrific scenario that he's putting forward in a really offensive way? You think that's correct?
Well, I completely agree that was a very brutal way of describing it. But Peter, I don't understand why you're throwing a clip of Roger Hallam talking at me when
he's your leader. He is the leader of Just Stop Oil. You're a Just Stop Oil spokesperson. That's why.
But we're here to talk about the climate crisis and the cost of living crisis, not something that Roger Hallam said ages ago.
Well, I'll decide what we're talking about. He also said that the Holocaust was almost a normal event. Do you stand over that as well?
No, of course not. But what, Peter, you're distracting from the main point here, which is the fact that the point is,
hold on.
Now.
The main point is, okay, you're talking about climate change, you're talking about eco stuff. That's fine. You can talk about that. I disagree with you on a lot of the facts, or what you say are facts. What is ridiculously offensive to many people is the kind of language that your leader is using, is the fact that people can't get to hospitals because they're stuck in ambulances. You saying this is regrettable, this is terrible, but we're only doing it because of the climate crisis.
Peter,
no, you're not. You're doing it because you are an eco-terrorist.
Peter, there's a waiting list of the NHS of 7 million people right now. You said that yourself in the news earlier. That's not because a few of us are stuck on roads. That's because the NHS is so criminally underfunded.
But people who are in people who are in ambulances could get to hospital quicker and possibly have their lives saved if you were not gluing yourselves to the M25.
Well, we have a blue light policy. We'd let all emergency vehicles.
Hasn't
through.
always happened. What about people who are in long queues of traffic, for example?
Well, again, I completely feel their frustration.
You don't feel their frustration because you're continuing to do this and you're endorsing people who are continuing to do this. This is madness. It is wrong. It's morally wrong. You're putting far more lives in danger by your eco-terrorism than what you're trying to save as a result of a made-up climate crisis and
Peter,
the fact that all these things that this guy is saying that are going to happen in graphic terms, which are deeply offensive.
In 48 hours, this summer, we had 48 hours of 40-degree heat. That killed 1,700 people.
How do you know that? Where are your figures coming from that? 1,700 people?
It's all over the news.
It's all over the news, right?
Well, it was widely reported on. NHS ambulances were on black alert for that 48 hours. No one could get to hospital. People died waiting for ambulances. That kind of disruption is going to happen more and more and more if the government continues forcing forward new oil licenses.
So, I mean, I just think we're just not going to agree on this. I think that your tactics, whether we agree with what your aims and objectives, and I don't actually, but even so, I mean, your tactics, you've clearly decided they're not working because you're pausing them. Why are you pausing them?
We're pausing them to give our government time to do its job and actually take care of the people it's supposed to.
Okay, so do you think they've now got the message?
Well, I certainly hope so, for all of our sakes.